What is up, 2K crew? You have found the Turbo and 2K's podcast. I am Turbo, and across the bar from me is Mr. 2K's Kyle Kaler. We have a pretty stacked show today. We've got some Bryce Harper talk, some other baseball contract talk, some college hoops talk, and of course, like I said, can't have a podcast without Zion Williamson. Do some NFL Combine talk and some shorts. All on the Turbo and 2K show, so grab a drink, sit back, and have a listen. All right, well, 2K's crew, it is done. It is over. We can move past this, or at least stop talking about the free agency and contract part of it. Kyle, why don't you get us started with your thoughts on the 13-year, $33 million contract that Mr. Bryce Harper signed with the Phillies?
First off, it's the numbers. You see the numbers. I mean, it's kind of off the charts as far as the money goes, but it does not surprise me one bit. I think all of us kind of seen this coming, especially after the Machado deal. I think everybody kind of thought Harper was going to one-up Machado in it, and there was going to be a little bit more money. Now, 13 years, that's just ridiculous to me. I mean,
has there ever been a contract that long that you can remember?
No. And he's 26 now, so he's going to be 39 at the end. And you're still going to be paying him this kind of money, and it's just like every other contract that you see like this. It's going to be great for 6-7 years, and then that tail end of that contract, it's probably going to be kind of ugly to watch as he gets older. He's not going to put these numbers up into his upper 30s that he's doing right now. He's just not. But hey, kudos to Brice. I'd take that deal any day.
Yeah, for you and I to sit here and that's money that you and I probably never really will see in our lives. But the main thing that I took away from it was there's no opt-out. There is a no-trade clause, but even with the Manny Machado, he has an opt-out. Was it after 5?
Mm-hmm.
So, and from all that Kyle and myself have read, he didn't want an opt-out clause. He did not want an opt-out clause. So his major concern was he wanted to sign one more contract and be done with it.
Yeah, and you got to respect that. I mean, I question it a little bit. I don't understand why. 13 years is a long time. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in that time, and to not have that opt-out, you're kind of stuck there now. So.
And put yourself in the Phillies' perspective too. Everyone now is like, oh my God, record-setting contract, record-setting amount of years. But who's to say what the market's going to be like in 5 years?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This could end up being one of the most ingenious, smart contracts in sports history.
Yeah. We're going to see Bryce Harper, or not Bryce Harper, but Mike Trout here in a couple of years, and his contract is going to be, I believe, it's going to be significantly higher than what we just see here. So
probably not the 13-year mark, but more per year. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing that shocks me with Harper, this Harper situation the most, is the contract that he turned down.
Yes.
Reports are saying that the Dodgers were trying to offer him $45 million a year
for 4 years.
Yes, and I would have, if it was me in those shoes, I would have taken that $45 million for over a year for 4 years, and
I would have signed that contract before it was dry from the printer.
Yes. That's.
Give me $45 million a year.
Then again, when you sit back and you think about it, this has taken up the entire offseason for him.
True.
And maybe it's just for him. He doesn't want to go through it again. Hey, there's nothing wrong with $330 million over 13 years either. So it's a win-win for him.
Yeah, I think at this point it's, from all that we have read, is that this is the contract he was looking for. This is the contract that he was wanting. So if that's the case, kudos to him. I would have taken the $45 million a year for 4 years, went back out on the market and see what I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now they did come out and say that that there are some bonuses, of course. The largest one being the league MVP is $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be worth quite a lot more than the $330 million by the time it's all said and done.
Absolutely.
And just some kind of food for thought. After Bobby Bonilla will still be getting his checks from the New York Mets when this contract is over. So kind of keep that in mind as well. And and it got kind of overshadowed real quick is the Nolan Arenado deal, the extension with the Rockies. Again, an 8-year, $260 million contract. Kyle and I sat here last week talking about how this is one of the players we want to keep an eye on because this is going to be him next year. Where would he land? Well, I apologize. We wasted about 15 minutes of your life you'll never get back because it's done and over with. I mean, he's there. He's got pretty much his lifetime contract.
Yes. And give credit to the Rockies for getting this done.
Absolutely.
Taking the drama out of it. There's going to be no drama. Arenado is locked up. He's probably going to be a Rocky for the rest of his career, it's safe to say.
Yep. Well, since I did get some messages that there's too much baseball on the show, so we will move on from that. And oh my gosh, if this is anything even close to what March is going to be like for college hoops, I think we're in for a fucking treat.
I pick a team and I talk about them, it seems like one weekend, and then I look stupid by the next weekend because they go out and they get beat by, one week I was talking about Michigan. What do they do that week? They go and get beat by Penn State. And then I started talking a little bit about Duke. And Duke's, easy number one. They're the best team in the nation. What do? Well, Zion Williams gets hurt. They get, embarrassed by North Carolina on their home floor. And now, this past week, losing again to Virginia Tech. And I think it's safe to say Duke, without Zion, is not one of the 4 number 1 seeds.
No, and that's one of our pieces on our itinerary too. So, they look. And I'm trying to. One of the commentators this morning were breaking it down how without Zion there, teams are essentially doubling R.J. Barrett, taking him completely out of the game, and his absence isn't just as a scorer, rebounder, defense. It's drawing attention to himself because of his scoring and passing, and that opens up everything else for everybody else. And one of my main things is that, all right, in my opinion, Zion goes down. I want to see R.J. Barrett step up and just take over games, and he hasn't done it.
No.
He's still averaging 20-some points a game, which is fine. But to be, in my opinion, to be that leader, to be a potential number 1 overall pick, he coming out of high school was the number 1 recruit. Where's that drive? Where's that, pick your dick up out of the dirt, get on my back, guys, and let's go.
Mm-hmm. And you see spurts of it. That's the problem. It's not consistent. It's not consistently every night.
No.
You see spurts of it and you watch him and you're like, man, he might be the best player in college basketball. That's including Zion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But then the next night it's like he's not even there. It's not the same R.J. Barrett. And that's where it's, to me, that's where why I give Zion the nod over him now is because when Zion was healthy and was out there, you knew where he was at on the floor.
Absolutely.
Every single night. He was just consistently good. And without him, it's a whole different Duke team watching them.
And going back to what we were talking about last week, man, where's Coach K in all this?
Mm-hmm.
Where is this? He coaches Olympians. He coaches, and those Olympic teams have the greatest talent on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that? I've seen him win with less, with a lot less. And when I'm talking about winning, it's not just winning; it's dominating. Kicking dicks in the dirt and then just leaving town.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it, and I think that the drive from the players has to come from at least a little kick in the ass to get it started from the coach.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because they're freshmen. And this goes back to this podcast number 1. How are these young kids gonna respond to adversity? So far not so good.
Yeah. And that's the thing with having four freshmen that are a huge part of your team. The biggest part of your team is going back to the consistency thing. They're not consistent. We watched it the one night with NC State when they were down by 20 and came back from that and won, and it was like, holy shit! I mean, these guys, they just have it,
Yep.
And then they come back the next night and just completely lay an egg, and there's no consistency with them, and yeah, that falls. To me, in my opinion, that falls back on Coach K, not having those boys ready to play,
and I don't get it. I don't.
I mean, every single year, Duke just they don't rebuild. It's just a reload.
Mm-hmm.
All these kids, they get 3 or 4 one and doneers every year.
Yep.
And they're out of there, and then they reload with another one. They have another group of 2 or 3 kids in the top 10 coming for the next season. So it's
Absolutely.
gonna be the same situation, and and nothing against Coach K. I think he's a great coach. He's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's hands down a Hall of Fame coach when it's all said and done. But I'm a Big Ten guy, so I'm gonna give my love to the Big Ten coaches there. And you talk about Tom Izzo, and you talk about John Beilein, and they don't get those one and doneers year in and year out like Duke does, like North Carolina does, and they're pretty consistently good every single year. They develop their talent. They get these kids to stick around for 3-4 years, and
in my opinion, it's more of a team from top to bottom that way.
Yes, and those are to me, I would rather have that style of a coach than someone like Coach K, who, let's just face it, he's a great recruiter.
Oh yeah,
he's a great recruiter. His staff is great at recruiting. I don't know if I'm ready to give him the nod that they're like some of the best basketball coaches, as far as coaching the game. I would rather have a coach like Tom Izzo that can to coach the game, so.
Well, I mean, and this is something that you can speak to personally, because not only are you yourself a coach, your wife is a coach, your dad's a coach, your best friend's a coach, and in the Marcellus system, this is not derogatory by any means, we don't have the quote unquote one and done players. We don't have these big studs that some of these other schools do. So I always find it amazing how, and even when I was going through school here in Marcellus, and I played baseball and soccer and a little bit of basketball, and still to this day, one of the best coaches I ever had was Denny Small.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And both him and his brother Randy, Randy's doing his thing in Schoolcraft. Yes. If you really don't know what he's doing over there, go check it out.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
Yes. But when I take so much pride in when our little school competes extremely well against bigger schools, or even like size schools, because I know how hard you guys work to get the talent out of not the best players. And a lot of times it ends up being a group of average players can beat pretty steadily a group of players that are far superior but lack the cohesiveness, lack the the camaraderie, pick each other up when you're down. All right, you're having a bad game, I got this. That to me is something that you can't, it's easier to teach that than it is to teach fundamentals. Is it easier to get kids to listen to that? That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But we're kind of rambling on here. But to jump off the Duke bandwagon and Zion Williams crotch, Michigan goes down to Michigan State, and granted that was Sunday, so I know that's kind of old news that both teams have since played since now. But the final score did not paint a picture of how that game went down at all.
No.
At all.
Michigan State just.
And Michigan State is a walking bag of bones right now. Going back to Coach Izzo, props to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're going through the same thing that Duke's going through, and you know, yeah, I mean, they just from start to finish dominated it. They dominated Michigan at Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan was the home team in that situation, and
I could have seen. I really wouldn't even have seen that at Michigan State, but to do it at Michigan's home court, wow. And and granted, like I said, we kind of cover from the last time we recorded to this time, and fast forward to today, and Michigan State goes down to Indiana. So I hate to say it, but the Big Ten's coming down to kind of what I said, or kind of what you and I both agreed.
Yeah, Purdue. I mean, Purdue has. We said it 2 weeks ago when we were looking at these teams between Michigan State, Purdue. They were tied at the time when we were talking about it. They were all tied for the Big Ten championship, and we said it then. Purdue probably has the best chances of winning it because of their schedule. You know, Michigan and Michigan State still have to play against each other again.
Yeah.
And Purdue is just gonna coast through, and I don't see them getting beat. And they took care of business today against Ohio State on the road, beat them by 20. I mean, I think that the Big Ten is theirs. I mean, theirs to lose for sure.
And kind of picking up on the team that I've been kind of falling in love with is Kentucky. You know, they outlasted Arkansas. I think it was on Tuesday, and unfortunately they got just buggy whipped today by Tennessee.
Yeah.
And even UNC again Tuesday. Syracuse always plays hard. That's not an easy. The Cuse is never an easy game.
No.
And so they ended up pulling away late Tuesday, and even the games that you wouldn't think would be just super compelling to watch. There's been more. Oh, just an update. Duke is winning 33-16 against Miami, so keep that in mind. And Zion is not playing for the third straight game. But until I lost my train of thought on that. But at any rate, as many overtime games that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And not even overtime games, but double overtime games. And it just goes. And if you and I were talking before we hit record that if college hoops is this exciting right now.
Yeah, March 2nd.
March is going. The tournament's going to be fucking unreal.
Yes.
Unreal. So if you want our best college basketball analysis, and I think Kyle will back me up on this 100%, put your fucking seatbelt on, sit down, grab a drink, and watch.
Yes, there is no. 2 weeks ago, before this whole thing was on, I think everybody can agree, Duke just jumped off the map at everybody. They before all the Zion drama, they were the best team in college basketball. I don't think anybody could argue it. Now, without Zion, there's no team that sticks out to me.
No. There's not that traditional just powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even picking the number one seeds, you picking the bracket is going to be exciting.
Yes.
So, with all that being said, I know, and I have gotten some messages about this. Turbo, when are you going to talk football? Well, it's fucking the off season, so shut up. But for all of you raging NFL fans that just cannot get your jollies from the AAL or AAF or whatever the hell it is, I'm really not a fan of a league where Trent Richardson and Mr. Hackenberg are the two lead players in that, so save me that. But they are down in Indy for the Combine, and again, and Kyle, I might be alone on this one. I'm not impressed. The only thing that I'm impressed with is whoever Kyler Murray's height coach was deserves a raise. I don't know if he got them Timberland boots like George Costanza had on Seinfeld, but somehow the dude ended up measuring over 5'10", which I guess in the football world, everyone just got a real big collective boner, and now he goes from maybe a first round pick to the number 1 overall pick because he's an inch taller than what everyone thought he was.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get how he's kind of stole the show, and everybody's talking about him, and nobody really talks about Haskins from Ohio State, who to me is the no-brainer best quarterback in the draft.
It's a fucking stud.
I mean, if you pass up on Haskins and go after Murray, you must know a lot. You must know a lot more than I know, and I'm not claiming to know a whole lot about football, but
which rightfully so. I'm glad that the comparisons are going more towards Russell Wilson than like a Johnny Manziel.
Mm-hmm.
Even Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, came in and pretty much did the same exact thing last year. However, it wasn't his height that was in question. It was his attitude, his kind of some of the more off the field demeanor. That's what and then he ran well. I mean, I can't remember if he ran at the combine, but he pretty much after the combine, everyone's like, "Oh my God, we need him. We need him." And kudos to the Browns, because looking back at that, I thought that was the dumbest fucking pick of the draft. And I still think it is, because you could have taken Saquon Barkley number 1. I guarantee Baker would have been there at number 3.
Yes.
And so, and what I don't there's just so many things that I don't understand about this. And for a team, now, looking at it from the Cardinals' perspective, fuck yes, you want to pump this guy up. You want to get as much pub going towards him so you get the fattest deal. If they want to move down, which if they don't, and draft Kyler Murray and then trade Josh Rosen, dumbest thing ever.
I agree.
Dumbest thing ever. And so, yeah, to me, there's so many other players that, like you and I had talked about, Bosa, Gary. I know what the media is doing, because there aren't that many fun positions.
Yeah.
Quarterback, running back. However, and his name is totally escaping me. I want to say it's the Ole Miss receiver that's just blowing everything up down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fun position. Offensive line, defensive line, linebackers are not fun positions to talk about. The only time they are is when the dude goes out and does his 245 press 100 times.
But yet they're the most important positions when you start talking about.
They're the ones that protect the fun positions. Yeah. So, and that's one of the main reasons why your left tackle is the second highest paid dude on the fucking team.
Yeah.
So, the media's hyping this draft up so bad, and Kyler is fueling right into this, as well he should. If I was in his shoes, I would too. And I would also like to thank Dr. Scholes for the inner soles I put in my shoes when they measured me. But yeah, I just don't get it. And I'm right there with you on the Haskins train. To me, he's, granted, this might be standing on my soapbox and being an old man for a minute. I would much rather have for lack of a better term, a statue back there. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning-esque, Drew Brees to a certain extent. They're the kind of the old school. But you know what? Those old school dudes won a lot of fucking games. Mm-hmm. And last time I checked, Russell Wilson's won 1 Super Bowl. Should have won 2. Hand the ball off. But I know we're getting away from the run-first quarterback. That probably will never happen, because the human body can't take that many hits. It just can't. But I want someone... Now, granted, if you walked up to me on the street and said, Turb, for your Turbinos, your football team, we're just going to give you Russell Wilson. Hell yeah. He's a winner. His demeanor has what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But it just looking side by side, he's a lot bigger of a person. Granted, he's older now. But I guess this is kind of a long-winded way to say I agree with you. Dwayne Haskins all day. And like you and I were talking about before we hit record, the Giants. The Giants make a lot of sense. And kind of give the listeners a kind of a run back of what you and I were talking about. And Kyle was the one that brought this up. You know, he's like, it makes the most sense out of anyone in that top portion of the draft to trade up. Mm-hmm. And Eli, and I know, Kyle, you're not a big Eli fan. I'm not really either.
I'm not a big Giants fan. So I'm a Cowboys fan, so I don't like anybody else in the same division.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, and I totally understand, you know.
But I can't knock Eli either for, you know, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and he took down the GOAT in both of them, so.
Yeah, and, you know, he could, or people could say that a lot of, he won for not being a great quarterback, but we see that all the time. Mm. Trent Dilfer, hello. Yeah. Even Peyton on a second one. Mm. But yeah, could you imagine, and now, getting back to Dwayne Haskins, he's more elusive than what people think.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State fans are just used to J.T. Barrett running around. No, Dwayne Haskins likes to throw the ball. He can throw it very well and very accurately and a whole lot down the field.
Yes. And they didn't, you know, when you think of Urban Meyer college teams, you think of
ground and pound.
Yes, they're going to run the football. And they couldn't do that this past year. They didn't have the offensive line to do that. They didn't have the running back depth and the quarterback that could run the ball 20 times like, you know, a Barrett. And
well, and you know, Urban's been blessed with some good running backs here lately.
Absolutely. And he just sat back and probably, I think it's safe to say, Big Ten, SEC are probably pretty similar as far as defenses go. As far as, you know, it's not like Kyler Murray playing down there in the Big 12, where I don't think did they even play defense in that league, or?
I think you and I could play for Oklahoma's defense.
Yes, exactly. So, and I know people are gonna be like, oh well, did you see the Ohio State Michigan game? Because Michigan didn't play any defense that day either. Well, no, they didn't. But
you went there, I didn't.
But week in, week out, you can expect you're going to face a pretty legit defense from about every team in the Big Ten.
Yes.
You can't say that about many other conferences other than the SEC.
Yeah, and one of my main differences between the Big Ten and the SEC is speed. Mm-hmm. Is every Big Ten player slow? No. But you can tell the difference flipping on tape from like an LSU Alabama game as opposed to a Michigan, you know, Ohio State game. Mm-hmm. Two bitter rivals. They both want to just beat the shit out of each other. Mm-hmm. If you had them both like on the split screen, watching both of them, yeah, you can tell. You can tell. You know, the whole team speed overall. Mm-hmm. We were at dinner last night watching we were at Applebee's, and they had the NFL Network on, and there was, I want to say it was a Wisconsin offensive lineman, ran the 40 in under 5. And to see that large of a man move that fast, I almost stood up and gave him a standing ovation. Didn't care if everyone looked at me weird in the restaurant, because that doesn't happen that often. But yeah, that just totally contradicted my own point, but I just wanted to bring that up because it was rather cool to see. But no, you're right. Overall, the defense, and let's not forget, Haskins threw 50 touchdown passes? He set a Big Ten record for touchdown passes and yards, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And since you went there, dominated a very touted Michigan defense.
Embarrassed.
And, you know, those last couple games for Michigan was, oof. Like I didn't even text you, didn't call you because I knew you were pissed, and
I can't even really say that I was pissed or mad. I was just embarrassed. Like, how do you show up against? It's safe to say now that Michigan and Ohio State, I don't even really consider it a rivalry anymore because it's so one-sided that until Michigan starts putting a product out there that can, maybe win every other year or something like that, protect your home field against them, then I'll go back to considering, oh, that's the big rivalry. Right now, our only rivalry is Michigan State because they suck too. Like, that's where I'm at with Michigan. Like, I'm so sick and tired of, and I love Michigan, and I still.
Well, you guys have Notre Dame one more year.
I still say that we have the right guy in charge in Harbaugh. I'm still riding Harbaugh, but I'm almost done with him. I'm almost fucking done with him. Like,
well, when you're done, I've been driving this Notre Dame bandwagon probably since I was 8 or 9 years old. And if there isn't room, I'll make room. So you're more than welcome on this.
Well, I'm tired of not being able to beat Ohio State year in and year out. And then in the off season, you're climbing trees with your recruits and sleeping over with, the kicker and
just being stupid.
And yeah, it's just stupid shit. And I know the media does a lot of that, and they blow a lot of stuff that he does up. But
he puts it on himself too.
Yes, exactly. Let's focus on beating Ohio State. Let's focus on making it to a playoff one of these years.
Yeah.
Let's play some relevant football, and then I think
start with beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
Winning a Big Ten title. Which I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10, but if you do win the Big Ten title, you have a very good shot at being in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you take care of business, and that's one of the major parts of the Big Ten is now with that Big Ten title game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even look at Ohio State. The year that they won it, didn't they win the Big Ten title game to get in?
Yep.
Just barely got in. There's a lot of folks that said that they shouldn't even have been there.
Yep. Say the same thing about Alabama 2 years ago.
Yeah.
People were questioning that they should even make it in. They ended up squeaking in as the 4th team and go on to win it all.
Yep. So yeah, that I know we didn't touch on too much NFL stuff. So NFL fans, we're just dick teasing you right now. But trust me, once it gets closer, I'm not ready. Hell, it's just now March.
Well, this is the thing about the NFL. It's safe to say the NFL is the most popular sport in America. Everybody wants to talk about football all the time, and I get it. I love the NFL myself.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the NFL Combine and the NFL draft talks right now, I don't give a shit about any of it.
The trade rumors,
I don't care.
Who Antonio Brown's going to go to.
Yes, I don't care about it right now. Like, to me, talking about the NFL Combine, it's the NFL's trying too hard for news. Yes. Like, let's just wait. Take a couple months off. Make people, wait for it for a little bit.
It's kind of hard to take a couple months off when you have the NFL Network and you have to do this. But no, Kyle, I'm sure you agree with me. I would much rather, instead of trying to be like, all right, well, Antonio Brown fits so well here. Antonio Brown makes every other team in the league. I shouldn't say every other. He makes every team in the league better.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of ridiculous to sit here and try to speculate who they're going to trade him to.
Well, the Antonio Brown situation rubs me wrong too. All I heard while everything was good in Pittsburgh and they were making the playoffs and Antonio Brown was putting up these record numbers was how good of a teammate he is and how much he puts in more work than anybody and he's and staying after and then when things go bad in Pittsburgh, all of a sudden Antonio Brown's a terrible teammate. All he's out there is for himself and to pad his own stats and
earn that big fucking contract he signed.
The bottom line is if Pittsburgh does what they should have done at the beginning of last season and they sign Le'Veon Bell, they would have been in the playoffs. Hands down. James Conner had a great season. Not taking anything away from it. Pittsburgh would have been in the playoffs if Le'Veon would have been out there all year long.
And I might have won my fantasy football league if that was the case too.
Yeah. Same here. I took Le'Veon with the first pick.
And there's the NFL feeds this hype train. which is fine. It gives jerk-offs like you and I something to talk about. And at the end of the day, I'd much more rather be more reactionary than trying to project.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do both on the show, don't get me wrong, but with something like this, I'd rather just sit back and wait and see. Because at the end of the day, he's still a Steeler. Do I think that he'll be back? No. But he could. I mean, you look at, even going back to the Le'Veon Bell thing, how many other teams would have folded and just signed him? 31 others?
Yeah.
Well, probably 30. The Patriots probably would have told him to go suck a dick. But
we already got Rex Burkhead on our team. We don't need
Yeah, we've got 4. We've got 4 running backs. We don't need another one. Yeah. But, yeah, I was watching, listen to my normal sports talk radio, and everyone's hyping up the combine. And then once everyone figured out that Kyler Murray is over 5'10", I didn't hear another word. Not another word. So that's... I'm going to put... eventually, once we get our Patreon started, I'm going to post my show notes so you guys can see what exactly I go off of and everything. And you'll see NFL Combine, Kyler Murray measures 5'10" and 1/8. That's it.
Yeah, the Combine just, it annoys me so much. I don't care how fast these guys run their 40 or how high they jump, or I want to watch them I want to watch them play in a football game and take over a football game. That's what I want to see. You know, a couple years ago, the Ross kid from Cincinnati comes out and runs the fastest 40 time ever recorded. What do? I go out there, I'm like, oh, in the 15th round of my fantasy draft, I'm taking him because he's fast. He's fast, lightning fast. What did he do on my fantasy team? He probably caught like 4 passes in the entire season for about 42 yards. Like,
well, at least you took him in the 15th round, whereas if the Raiders' old coach was still alive, probably would have drafted him in the first round. So let's kind of wrap the NFL and football talk up for just a little bit. And even with what happened last night, the big LeBron versus the Greek Freak, which anyone in their right mind should have known that Milwaukee is going to beat the Lakers. Especially, and correct me if I'm not wrong, that was in Milwaukee, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not that the NBA has a huge home court advantage in the regular season, but let's be real. I came across a stat that I found rather intriguing. And I ran it past Kyle, and he said, yeah, let's run with it. So I'm going to run it past you guys, and I'm sure by this time in the sports cycle you've seen it, is that the Lakers have a 6% chance to get a top 3 lottery pick, meaning the number 1, number 2, or number 3 overall pick, or a 3% chance to make the playoffs and not be in the lottery altogether. If I were... Now, with that being said, it got my creative juices thinking, and I sit back and I think to myself, well, man, wouldn't it be awesome if? And I'm sure every sports fan does that, or every person just sits back, what if that 424 Hemi could fit in my Escort? Just stupid random thoughts like that. However, this one, it could actually happen. Will it? Probably not. But could it? So let's take all common sense out of this, okay? The Lakers missed the playoffs, and somehow, circa the Tim Duncan to the Spurs draft, somehow the Lakers end up with the number 1 overall pick. So now you have LeBron and Zion. And let's just for shits and giggles, they go sign Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got 2 of the best freak athletes probably in the history of the NBA, outside of Shaq. And now you've got one of the most prolific 3-point shooters. And on top of that, you kept your whole roster. You didn't have to trade away, for the starting 5 to get Anthony Davis. Like I said, highly, highly not going to happen. But what if?
It'd be pretty damn cool.
What if? And the reason why I even bring this up is you have a league that is paying out player contracts at a record pace that no other North American franchise or organization has. And you have your top player, your top money maker, your GOAT of the time, let's just say, not saying the greatest of all time, just right now, is struggling. And what would be the league, and I'm sure there's 1,000,001 LeBron haters out there. I'm not one of them. Kyle, you are one. I like to watch him play. Is he overhyped? But he brings a lot of it on himself. I totally agree with that. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Will it happen? No. But if you take your top bell cow out of the race, ratings are going to be down. You're ultimately going to, the league itself is ultimately going to lose money if LeBron misses the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe on some level, the NBA is like, all right, cool, you miss playoffs. We got you. Just watch this shit. Brown, we got you. Like I said, will it happen? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. But is it at least something to think about? And I know, believe me, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I just like to sit and think, like, all right, no, and then when shit like this does happen, be like, didn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like it's out of the ordinary, like you said. Spurs and Duncan, Bulls and D-Rose.
Yep.
It's this stuff. It can happen. Like, there's a legit shot of it happening. That's what makes the lottery for the NBA, the draft lottery, is so exciting. Is you can have a team that maybe just misses out on the playoffs and is right there and maybe a player away from being a contender.
Yeah.
And they can get the first pick of the draft, and Zion's a difference maker. And we touched on R.J. Barrett a little bit earlier. We a couple weeks ago we talked about Morant from Murray State. So yeah, I mean it's a big deal. I mean it's exciting to think about. I mean do I think it's gonna happen? No, probably not. We're probably gonna end up seeing Zion go to somebody like
the Knicks
or the Phoenix Suns, and the Knicks are kind of intriguing too because they have the cap space to do something. Now, what I don't want to see Zion do is go to Phoenix,
become completely irrelevant.
Yeah, and nobody will, and you're just gonna forget about him. Like,
well, yeah, it'll take a couple years before we forget about him. Yeah, but because he is Zion, and but then again too, there was a lot of folks that said that LeBron going to Cleveland would be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Phoenix has a way. Ever since the Charles Barkley era, have they been even relevant? I can't remember them being relevant.
No, I mean, I a little bit here and there with back when they had Steve Nash.
Yeah.
And Amari Stoudemire.
Yep, I totally
really,
bypassed them.
Really, the only those are the only years where, but yeah.
Yeah, that's. I hope. Going to the Knicks, yes, would be probably if everything goes to chalk. Yeah.
Mm.
All right, so let's see. Let's recap. Kyle and I got our baseball talk out of the way, and if you guys haven't noticed, when there are baseball things to talk about, we usually talk about them first. Because that's what we know best. That's what we can kind of open up with, kind of stretch out, get a little bit of a pump on, and then we move to some of the other stuff. Even though, I think if we opened up with the other stuff and then close with baseball, we'd probably be better because we'd have our joints oiled a little bit more, and a couple other tall boys down, and so. Another thing we also like to do is we also like to take something that's not super duper sports related. Talk about it a little bit. Have a little fun with it. You know, we did the Bigfoot with Jose Canseco. We did the Robert Kraft thing last week, and you know now and this is something that I've been noticing, and it's kind of irritating, to be honest with you. Is that the trend in short basketball shorts, and I'm not talking like, because I remember, you know, I was high school, you know, middle school, Fab 5 days. Those guys were the ones to bring in the baggy shorts, the black shoes. That was their thing, and then everyone else copied them. But I don't know if it's because we're just used to the fact that these guys are wearing longer shorts. And now they're wearing extremely short shorts, which, by all means, on a 6'8" dude, his short shorts would probably be my length normal shorts. But it just looks extremely odd. I don't understand it. And then on top of that, a lot of times these dudes wear short shorts with leggings underneath. I don't understand that. I mean, if it's because it gives you more range of motion, that's fine, but it looks fucking ridiculous. And now they're getting kind of short to where I hope these boys are well what's the word I'm looking for? They have some support down there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's going to be some stuff flying out. We're going to have to blur things. Mm-hmm. You know, someone's little kid is going to be like, "Mommy, what's that?" Well, that's a long dick. That's what that is. But no, when did this become a thing? Am I just now noticing it, or is it something that's been going on for a while?
I think we started to kind of see it about like 3 years ago. There was maybe like one or two players, and really the one I kind of remember doing it first was DJ Wilson who played for Michigan a couple years ago, and they kind of questioned him.
Is he the dude with the big hair?
Yes, plays for Milwaukee now.
Yeah,
in the NBA.
You're right. I do remember that.
And he's kind of the one that I remember kind of starting it back up a little bit, and they asked him while he was at Michigan why he was doing it, and he was kind of doing it for the Fab Five, you know, because they were kind of the ones that changed it from the short shorts to the longer shorts, but even, you know, the Fab Five wore the longer shorts, but they didn't wear the shorts down below the kneecaps like we've been seeing here for the last few years. Their shorts were, you know, right at the kneecaps.
Yeah.
So and that was kind of his reasoning for doing it, was he wanted, you know, and you know, I've heard, you know, some different players being questioned on why they're wearing them, and they say that it's more comfortable, and you know, and in my opinion, you say you don't really like it. I like it. I think it's I would rather see that than see a bunch of guys out there wearing like capri looking shorts, all, you know, and because to me that just looks like trash, you know, and I mean, let's face it, basketball, NBA, especially NBA basketball, was a hell of a lot better back in the '80s than what it is now, when they were wearing those, you know, shorter style shorts. And
so what you're saying is that the quality of the game is directly proportionate to the length of the shorts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all I can think of. Yeah.
I mean, folks, you heard it here. It's breaking news. Mr. 2K's just blew all of our minds right there. The quality of basketball is directly proportionate to the length of the shorts.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying I dislike it. It's just, it's weird to see an almost 7 foot tall man with shorts that goes down to the middle of his thighs, with so much. It looks like there's all legs running across the screen.
But like, as far as like these college athletes and these professional athletes, like, if I had legs like those, I would be showing them off too. Like me, I'm probably gonna, you know, rock my capri shorts, because I don't really want people to see my thighs.
With leggings.
I don't have, you know, muscles coming out from every direction like these athletes do, that are just complete freaks these days. So I'm probably gonna stick to my capris. But yeah, if I have a, you know, set of legs like DJ Wilson, I'm showing them off. Like, people, you know, hey, props to them.
I'd be the baggy shorts guy, even though I might, well, if I've been doing this the whole time now with baggy shorts, I've learned how to do my between the legs crossover, so it doesn't hit my shorts. So that's I'd have to. Of course, I've been a big dude my whole life. I like more clothes than less clothes. So yeah, that's kind of my. Give me the baggier the shorts, the better. As long as they fit around the waist, I'm cool with that. So yeah, let's. Since we got the funny part out of the way, there is something serious that we did kind of want to talk about, and I meant to lead the show off with this, and I was wondering if I had did it, but I didn't think I did, and I was going to bring it up before we left anyway.
Talk about baseball.
Well, yeah, that fucking MLB hard on. But we did want to give a big shout out to Mr. Dustin Perry. He is one of our Marcellus own. If you guys don't follow Facebook at all, he did get the position of the head strength and conditioning coach for the 49ers. So that is super, super awesome. And Dustin, we are all pumped for you, and we hope you the best. And which means probably next time we see you, beers are on you.
Yes, absolutely. Dustin, very happy for you. Very well deserved. Worked your ass off to get to where you're at now. Mad props to you and your family.
Absolutely, and what an amazing family as well. So
Absolutely.
Well deserved. Well, one thing that we want to kind of make a regular part of the show is to give back to our listeners, give them shout outs, answer questions, read comments, even though, which Christian Hudson kind of already proved that we will read the dumb shit as well. So, and the first one that a buddy of mine, Jacob Berg, and Jake asked, thoughts on the Honda Classic being salty since the players moved. And Jake, I apologize, both Kyle or I have any idea what the fuck you're talking about. I'm assuming it's golf, and I Googled it, I looked it up, and Kyle had a little bit that they're moving.
Yeah, the only thing I could find on it was they were going to move this Honda Classic to Texas from where it's played at now in Florida. They're going to move it to Texas, but it didn't take effect until late 2020s and into 2030, and that was one. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but yeah, I really don't know a whole lot about that situation.
So yeah, no, that totally proves that we do have some integrity. We will pass on questions rather than just filling you with a bunch of bullshit. I posted on the and all these have come from the Facebook group guys. So or not the group, the Facebook page. So if you do want to see where all these are coming from, get in on the action. Facebook.com/turbo and the number 2 Ks. And when the Bryce Harper contract dropped, I shared a post over there, and Mr. Kyler Thornburg responded with, sorry, I just spit everywhere. Beyond ridiculous, length and amount are both absurd, not even a top 5 player in baseball. And Kyler, you know what? With his stats from last year, it's kind of hard to argue that.
No, I agree with him 100%. I think in the like we touched on earlier, in the long term, this contract is probably not going to be as bad as what it looks like now compared to what contracts we're going to see here in the next 5 years. But as far as Harper not being a top 5 player in the game, I can't argue that one bit. I agree 100% with you.
I mean, he's shown flashes of being one of the best players, but his performance last year, Kyler, it's hard to argue with you, brother.
One of the top 5 most exciting players in the game, but as far as numbers wise, and maybe top 10, maybe not even top 10 as far as numbers wise.
And aside from just that signing, you look at what the Phillies have done this year. If you're a Philly fan, and then watching him hit in that ballpark is going to be really, really fun. So, and what probably is panning out to be our number 1 fan, Mr. Nick Palmer, I posted a post about Jason Witten returning, and he says, and the comment I put on it was, I'm not even mad about it. And he replied with, I'm not mad about it, but I don't understand it either. Nick, I'm kind of right there with you, but the thing that I take away from it is he's out of the Monday Night Football booth, so we don't have to listen to him any longer.
Yes, yeah, he was probably the worst Monday Night Football analyst I've heard in years.
Dennis Miller was that was a whole different realm of bad, but yeah, granted, he tried really hard. He tried really hard, and if there was a commentator hustle award, he might have gotten it. But as far as content bringing, and I think ultimately he tried to be too much like Tony Romo.
Yeah. And going back to Witten, returning to the Cowboys, I am a diehard Cowboys fan. They've always been my favorite team in the NFL, so I'm very excited to have him back. The only thing that kind of upsets me a little bit is Dallas tried to reach out to him last season, towards the tail end of the regular season, leading into the playoffs, to try to get him to come back then. And I wish he would have came back then instead of waiting until the next season. But
we never know how his contract with ESPN was worth.
Yeah.
He and I'm sure it's one of those things where you're pretty much locked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can be absolutely correct.
And that too. I mean, he's not in football shape. You're risking injury. So, but yeah, I think we can all agree now that we can breathe a little bit easier during this NFL season, where every analyst can just take out of their mouth, Dak Prescott does not have a safety blanket any longer. So.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win-win for all the way around for everybody. For everybody, and even with the interview with Jerry Jones, I'm pretty sure he had a hard on. So, and to kind of wrap up the Facebook traffic here, I posted the meme that we brought up about Robert Kraft last week. I did post on the Facebook page, and my brother, Mr. Joshua Jackson, says that we all needed a little release every now and then. True that, brother. True that.
Amen, brother.
True that. So yeah, that is. If you guys, like I said, this is something we want to make a part of every show. So I'll make you a deal. I'll keep posting breaking news, funny stuff. There was one that I posted that you commented on, and there was another comment as well, but there was just too much to kind of type out. So, yeah, this is stuff that we want to do. We want to make sure that we want you guys to know how much we appreciate you listening to us, interacting with us. We want to make sure that you guys get your shout outs. We want to make sure that we're answering any questions that you guys have, so that, because honestly, if you guys weren't listening, we'd just be sitting here talking into microphones and drinking beer, which we like to do anyways. So.
Yeah, I mean, we like to do it anyways, but at the same time, I think both of us would agree we're doing this for you guys that are listening to us.
Yeah.
Comment. Don't be afraid to post anything on
there,
anything sports related. I'm always down to talk. I'm always down to argue. Whatever. Bring it on.
And one thing that I might do here in the future is to just add a Facebook group so that we can all converse, and it's a little easier to share content over, and it gets the notifications get back to me a little bit quicker in a group setting rather than on a page setting. But the reason I started the page setting was because you could run Facebook ads off of it. So that was kind of my reasoning behind that. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, get in touch with us. Hashtag 2K Crew. Like I said, questions, shout outs. Facebook page again is facebook.com/turbo and 2Ks. If you're just falling into this and don't know where you can find the podcast itself, it is on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify still has not gotten back to us yet, so we're still kind of working on that, so cross your fingers. And if you're lazy and don't want to listen to the whole podcast or even go on Facebook, you can go to your email, turbo and the number 2Ks@gmail.com. Our Patreon's still in progress, guys. But I want to make sure we get these beaten into your head, so if there are any questions, are any concerns, or you just want to get some banter going and talk a whole lot of shit. So, and I was a bartender for years. That I'm obviously not the pretty girl. So to get your tips, I conversed, I talked sports. So I have some pretty thick skin. So you're not going to irritate me. And if you do, I'll just tell you to go fuck off. So, Kyle, is there anything else besides this race car or whatever the hell that just started up over here?
I've been watching them out the window.
It's a four-wheeler.
Giving her hell, that's for sure.
Well, that's recording a podcast. Stop. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this week. Hit us up, and even on iTunes, you can leave comments. You can leave hearts. You can rate us up to 5. So hit those 5s coming. We'll keep coming at you with some great. Well, I can't really say great, but fuck yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
We think it's great. Even if not, we'll drink another beer and then tell you even more how great it is.
Absolutely.
So, thank you much, guys, and until next week, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.